Good evening. Welcome to Let's Talk with Dr. Shanessa Fenner, and I have a very special guest this evening, Mr. Jimmy Buxton, who's the NAACP president of District 9. Welcome, Mr. Buxton.
Well, and glad to see you again,
Okay.
Dr. Fenner. Happy to be here today.
Okay. Why don't you first start off by letting our audience know a little bit about you and your role in the NAACP?
Well, I am the district director for the state conference NAACP for District 9, which encompasses Cumberland County, Harnett County, Hope County, and Robeson County. I'm also, as you stated, the president of the Fayetteville branch NAACP.
Okay. Now, Mr. Buxton, did anything happen in your past to make you want to become a part of the NAACP?
Well, I've always been somewhat of a fighter, you might say. I've always hated to see people being discriminated against. Back when I was in the early teens, back early 60s, by the way, when they were demonstrating downtown, we decided to go into the movies downstairs, and NAACP asked me and two other females to, would we go downstairs to sit. At that time, we had to sit upstairs.
Black
No,
sit
no,
upstairs.
no black could sit downstairs. So we were the first to go downstairs at the Miracle Theater, which is on Hay Street.
Okay.
And from there, I've always had this desire to make sure no one is being discriminated against. I can't stand discrimination. And the only way after I retired, I decided that I was not going to sit around and just waste my time, that I was going to still volunteer my time into the NAACP and help fight for the rights of those who are being discriminated against.
Okay, so do you think since that time, Mr. Buxton, have things changed?
They've changed, but they have not changed to where we would want. If the NAACP could shut down today, they would. But it seems at this time that they're trying to take us back to where we were back in the 60s. If you look at the General Assembly that's in office today, we feel like a lot of the legislative laws that they are being passed right now are trying to take us back to where we were back in the 60s.
Okay.
So,
All right. Which leads us, of course, to a discussion about Moral Mondays.
oh yes.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Moral Mondays.
Well, Moral Mondays, we're working on our 18th Moral Monday, which will be this coming Monday. Moral Monday began with Reverend Dr. William Barber. He's the visionary for the state conference, our state conference president. Once the legislators in Raleigh and the governor, McCrory, decided that they were going to take us back so far as with voter ID, taking away the rights so far as when we passed the Racial Justice Act, they repealed that, and we felt that it was proven that race is being used by picked juries. And by doing so, a lot of people were being put in jail, on death row, when they should not have been. But they repealed that, and that's taken us back. So Moral Mondays has been a way to make people aware of what the legislators were doing, and it has united so many people throughout this state and throughout other states. Matter of fact, Moral Monday has been known worldwide now, and we've gotten white, black, Jews, Gentile, whatever, to participate in this event. Moral Monday is really picking up, but it's the reason why it's so strong. People understand that they are doing wrong in the General Assembly.
Okay. So what is the NAACP trying to do in regards to voter ID?
As I stated, we're trying to keep people aware. If we know the only way you can change what's happening now is by keeping people aware and letting them know when they go to the polls next time, are you going to put the same people back that's taking us back now? The same people that are up there now who think that children should get less money. And you being a principal in school, you know what it is when you don't have enough funds in this city and enough teachers to help teach our children.
Yes, I do.
And these things are something that we've got to stop. And the only way we can do that is to keep the people motivated. So when we go to the polls, hopefully, they will understand that you can't put the same person back in office that's taking all these benefits away from children and the reenacting laws that take us back to where we were back in the 60s.
Okay, all right. I see here you've got a form that says what you should know about photo ID. And of course you talk about you'll not be required to show photo ID to vote until 2016.
That's correct. I mean, now that they passed it, we have nothing but one thing to do. We've got to get people ID'd. They have to go out and get their IDs.
Okay.
And beginning 2014, we're going to make sure, well, we're making sure now, but all those people who need ID, we want to make sure that they get IDs.
Okay.
We also want to make sure they're registered to vote. You have a lot of people in the state who have been voting but still need to get IDs now.
Okay.
And right here on campus of Fayetteville State.
Yeah, because it says no student IDs.
Right. There's no student ID.
Okay.
So therefore, that's going to put, and we feel that this law was passed to suppress the student vote.
Okay.
As you heard earlier, there were two counties already. One county in Appalachian State, they took the voting precinct away from the campus. Now that's going to make it much more difficult for the students to get to the polls to vote. That's voter suppression.
Okay.
And luckily, in Pasquotank County, that state board of election overruled the board of election there in Pasquotank County for the young man who was enrolled at Elizabeth City State to run for city council. Luckily, they overruled that. But as you can tell, if we don't get people ID'd, and the law is passed, so we accept that. But there's so many things that they added with this voter ID that really suppresses the vote. So our first goal is to make sure we get IDs. Then we're going to make sure those who have IDs register to vote. And then by more money, as I stated before, we're going to keep this up to make sure people understand by the 2014 election, this is when your representatives will be up for election again. Make sure that they understand why they had to do all this.
Okay, all right. Now, are you going to visit college campuses in order to let the students be aware and let them know where they're going to go so they can get their IDs?
Oh, yeah. Just today, Shaw University students and other students met, and they took all of the voter registration cards to the voter board of election today.
Okay.
Now, this coming Monday, at 4:30, they're going to meet at First Baptist Church in Raleigh on Wilmington Street, and then they're going to march to the governor's office. And this is going to be college students. We're asking all college students to go to Raleigh and let them know that what they're doing is wrong. So yes, we are definitely going to be on college campus. We also have a NAACP branch right here at Fayetteville State.
Okay.
So we work real close with them to make sure that people are ID'd here, those who live here. Now, the problem comes in when 2016 comes around. If you are from out of state, you're going to have been here a length of time before in order to change your residence.
Okay.
You're not going to be. You're going to have to go back to the state that you come from. They make sure that it's going to be a lot harder for students to go to the polls. As you know, when President Obama was elected, students turned out in numbers that never happened before.
They sure did.
And they know that. They don't want that to happen again.
Okay. Now, why do you think history is repeating itself, Mr. Buxton?
I often, that's a very good question. I often wonder, why would you want to go back when this state has been so progressive so far as early voting? They've taken away early voting and cut it back. Now they're saying that, well, you're still going to have the hours. And they say they took the early voting away from us to save money. Well, if you're going to have the same hours, it means you're going to have to open more precincts in that county, which means that you're going to have more people working those polls. So tell me where you're saving the money. I don't understand what their motives are, and I don't understand why anybody in their right mind would want to go back to the 60s. Mm-hmm. Why would anybody want to take it? And all centers around power, control. Mm-hmm. And they've said that the Democrats control this state for 100 years, but we know for a fact, if you look at history, the Democratic Party today were the Democratic Party. Now, it was the Republican Party so far as back into the early years, mm-hmm. starting in the 1900s. Democrats were, we called the racists. Mm-hmm. They were the one that went down to Wilmington and just killed those people down there in Wilmington. But back when the early 60s came around, Republicans started accepting the racist mode, and Democrats start going for the black vote. So after that, this is when you find Jesse Helms, Strom Thurmond, the Dixiecrats change over to Republicans. And that's what we have now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. You all have a state convention coming up this year?
We certainly do, and this is going to be one of the most important state conventions because there's going to be a lot of training there. It's going to be held in Rocky Mount, mm-hmm. October the 10th through the 12th. And we're asking all of our branches and all of our the people that's in our HK&J. I'm getting a phone call, but we're asking them to get involved with this convention, and hopefully we'll have one of the largest. Matter of fact, I know it's going to be one of the largest conventions because most of all hotels are already filled up.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But it's going to be a lot of good training there. Mm-hmm. And I urge anyone that's in the NAACP and any of our HK&J partners, and I do want to hit on HK&J
yes,
because
I was going to ask you about that.
Mm-hmm. HK&J, Historic Thousands on Jones Street. Mm-hmm. Now, this makes the 8th year coming up, I think. Okay. And this is when the movement really started of making people aware of what's going on in the General Assembly. We have marched each year in February to the General Assembly to have a rally to let our legislators know what we feel that they're doing is right or either wrong. We go back in March. People think we're just outside on that Saturday and nothing else happened. We go back in March and we go inside and we see the actual legislator that represents us. They let them know, and we present them with the packet, and we present them with what we feel that they're doing is right or wrong. Mm-hmm. So HK&J has grown, and I think this past year was probably one of our largest turnouts ever.
Okay. All right.
But I don't think it exceeded our More Monday, I think 10. Mm-hmm. I think we had more people there than ever.
Okay. And of course people were arrested at More Mondays as well? Because I know when I was looking on TV I would see.
See what?
I looked on TV and I saw some of the people being arrested and all that were there as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
all right. How did that go?
It was, see what?
How did that go?
The
I know it was very powerful, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was just a powerful message being mm-hmm. given. I mean, because you had young, old, mm-hmm. and like I said, religious, mm-hmm. non-religious, Muslim, whatever, mm-hmm. they were there to show what was going on in North Carolina is wrong. Okay. And I don't understand why those who are in there, that's sitting there, can't understand it. These people are not dumb. They're not stupid. They know what's right and what's wrong. Mm-hmm. And they don't have all the answers. No one have all the answers, but we're not all right about everything probably, but what we're looking at now, when we see for sure that you're taking children and misusing them, Medicaid, just for instance, that hurts children too. When the parents can't get health care, what does that do? Mm-hmm. You know?
Yes.
Unemployment. Why would you do that? Why would you cut unemployment? It makes no sense.
Wow.
I mean, and the reasons they gave is, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, they're saying that they're going to save on the debt that this state owes the federal government. Name a state that don't owe the federal government.
Yeah, true.
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Name one.
I can't.
Okay, so I mean that's it.
Exactly.
So
Okay.
we
Well, let's shift a little bit, Mr. Buxton, to driving while black.
Oh, okay.
Been a lot of discussion on driving while black.
Well, as you know, a lot has happened about that. We lost a police chief. We lost a city manager, and our only goal when we first went to the city manager's office was to know why was there a discrepancy in stops and searches, and it amounted to 4 times as many blacks being stopped versus white.
Okay.
And they could not give us an answer, and it took us 2 years to come to a agreement that we felt that if you just had them to sign a consent form, that it would cut back on the stops and the searches when you're stopped. And it has cut back. However, it is still a large amount of blacks being stopped, but the searches have come down.
Okay.
Now, our new police chief, Chief Harold Medlock, I have a lot of confidence in him. I feel like that the selection committee and the city council made a wise decision when they hired him. I like his visions, and I think he's doing a great job to straighten out what's going on in the police department. We knew for a fact that there was not a lot of policemen that was doing this. We knew it was just a handful of policemen that was actually stopping and racial profiling our people. We knew that. And I have been assured by our police chief that that's not going to happen under his reign. Okay. And I'm confident that, and the main thing that we're concerned about is the crime. Okay. And it concerns me more than anything, and you too, I'm sure, black on black crime.
Of course, always.
Yes, but those things go along with the other things. Our main concern is the crime in our neighborhoods, but we just can't overlook the other things that's going on, just like the driving while black. That's a part of what's going on. And when we see discrimination, we have to stop it. Simple as that.
All right. Now, Jimmy, you and I have had many discussions about black on black crime, our African American males, what can we do to make things better, What are some of the solutions or some of the interventions that you think we need to do in order to make this thing right?
Shanessa, my answer is going to be the same as I told you before. If I had that answer, you and I would be millionaires. If anybody had that answer. There's so many different things that we can look at to improve it, but it's got to start in the home first. And when you have babies raising babies, and you have a generation right now, that's what's happened. They have no respect for anybody. And it's kind of hard, even for me, my size, to go into a neighborhood where a bunch of young kids are right now and try to correct them for fear of one of them coming out with a gun. Because they don't have any respect anymore. And I don't know whether or not it was, a lot of people want to say it's the video games where it just got them to a point that when they shooting those things that look so real that when they go out here and kill somebody, I don't know about whether or not if that's the case, but it's got to start in the home. If we don't start getting our men back in the homes with those children, and we don't get the mothers to stop having the babies so young, then it's going to continue. Yeah,
because 70% of African American households, are led by women, of course.
That's right, exactly.
So, yes, and they
we got to get the men back in the home.
Yes.
And we got to make sure that they are working, and that goes right back to our legislators. Who's going to come here with the turmoil to create jobs with what they're doing now? They're saying that they're creating jobs, But what jobs?
Okay.
And when they ran in 2010, they were running for jobs, job. That's all we heard, job. I don't see any jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's another needed thing in order for our men, women to get back on their feet, to have a livable wage. Not just a minimum wage, a livable wage.
Okay.
And I think that would create stop a lot of the ills that's going on so far within our neighborhood with people who have jobs.
Okay. Now, what do you attribute the dismantling of the black family to?
Say that again?
What do you attribute to the dismantling of the black family? You know, what are some of the reasons why you think there's the dismantling of the black family?
Let's go back to our justice system.
Okay.
When you see, when you go downtown and you go downtown to the courthouse on any given day,
Okay.
you would see 80% black down there. I don't know the reason why, but if we're committing that many crimes, it's something wrong. I don't think that's the case. And I think it's been our justice system has been geared, and that the prisons now is our new slavery. That's the slave house where you send, and that's where most of our black men are. They're in jail. And if you look at some of the charges, and then you look at some of the charges that a white person have done, white person had the same amount of cocaine, and this boy here had the same amount of crack. But the white person is walking the street, black boys got 10, 15 years. Something wrong with that picture. Mm-hmm. That's what's happening with our young men. That breaks up a home real quick when your father or your son or whatever is sent to prison and kept there for years and years and years.
Then, of course, we have the generational poverty cycle as well that continues and continues. Of course, that needs to be broken as well.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. And I feel like a part of that, when you have generations that from food stamps, and it continues like that, there was had to have been something to change that, and it has changed. Wherein that they give you a certain amount of time to get a job. But if they don't have any jobs, what you gonna do?
Yeah. Okay. So Jimmy, what are some other causes or things that the NAACP has been involved with most recently? I know Moral Mondays has been the big thing for you, but I'm sure that there have been other things, other topics, other situations that you.
Well, our basic mission is to, it's our mission is to have make sure that there's no discrimination, there's no economic equality of rights, persons being denied. Those things are constant. That's what we do every day. That's in our mission.
Okay.
So when we're in our office and people call us so far as with complaints about being fired, discriminated against, or they feel like they're been kicked out of their home for no reason or something like that, we look into it. Now, I have to tell you, a lot of people holler discrimination when it's not.
Okay.
You can't just holler discrimination every time something happens to you from a white person. Mm-hmm. It has to be a white person doing something to you, and another white person did the same thing, and he got away with it. You just can't say that person discriminated against me because, and especially if you have anything against you so far as being late for work, you've had some run-ins with the boss, things like that, and you don't start complaining until after you're fired, then we have to look at the whole situation. So we just don't take everybody's complaint and start running with it until we investigate. And that's something that I hope all people know. NAACP are not lawyers. We don't go in and fight cases in courts. We're not attorneys. We have attorneys that are in our national office, and if the case is large enough, and we feel like an attorney needs to be called in, the attorney for that person can request that from us, and at that time we will look into it, and then we'll send it to our state office, and then the state office, if they feel like that the attorney should be called in, then they will call the national office and they will investigate it, and then they may join in with the lawsuit, like it was when we had the policeman here suing the city. Well, the attorney here for those officers actually called and said, this is what we want. And they looked into it and they did join in. Mm-hmm. So we continue to fight the struggle for justice, equality, rights of all persons, and make sure there's no discrimination or racial hatred.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. Well, Mr. Buxton, I thank you for being my guest this evening. As always, it's a pleasure talking with you.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Dr. Fenner.
All right.
And I'm happy to be here and share whatever information I can.
Okay. Now, Mr. Buxton, if someone wants to call you or send you an email, how can they reach you?
Sure. You can call our office at 484-6166. That's 910-484-6166. Or you can come by our office at 707 Murchison Road. 707 Murchison Road.
Okay.
And someone is in the office. It's always best to call first because it's a volunteer situation. We're not being paid to do what we do.
Okay.
But we do have volunteers that try to come in each day. Okay? So call first, 484-6166, and then we'll get in contact with you if no one is there.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Thank you. And viewing audience, thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk with Dr. Shanessa Fenner. Good night.
Stranger, wait, hold up, don't run, I don't bite. Stranger, got me so very much hypnotized. Familiar stranger.